It's over 9,000! That bogan plays cards!
Alright, so, it's good to be back. Scotty Hardwick, Bogan Plays Cards, and this video is all about me being challenged by one of the viewers of these videos. Made a suggestion on Facebook and asked me to create something based on Dragon Ball Z. So I had a little think, and because this video is also all about creating terrain and stuff for tabletop gaming, I thought, okay, so I'm going to have to make something that works with Dragon Ball Z and something that is going to work for other things outside of that universe. So I put together a little bit of an idea of creating a couple of islands from Namek that could also be utilized for other tabletop games and things like that. So I got the hot wire cutter out and I cut out a bunch of different designs for islands, and in all fairness, the longest waiting time for this was when I stuck all the foam slabs together with PVA glue because I wanted a big cliff. So my inspiration was based off, if you're familiar with the anime, it was based off the big cliff that the leader of the Namek people lived on with his house. So I'm going to be creating a bit of a cliff, some islands, putting all of this flock and stuff on them, and then testing my hand at some Namekian architecture as well. Now, just so happened that as I had finished planning this video, we went into lockdown again. So I basically had to make do with a lot of the things that I had on hand. But that's okay. I'm pretty happy and pretty proud of what I was able to come up with. It just meant that there was a couple of ideas that I had that I wasn't allowed to try out because I couldn't go shopping for them. But I will explain that part when we get up to it. So after the glue had dried, and for the most part the glue had dried this time, I didn't jump the gun or anything like that, I carved into the potential cliff again, making some random cuts with the hot wire cutter, and just tried to make it seem a little bit like a natural rock face. I then proceeded to push all the foam down so that it would go rounded at points. It's not all jagged and things like that. And then normally I would have I'll get some sculptor mold or plaster of some sort, and I would go over the gaps, but I didn't have any. So I tried some gap sealer, like your two-part powder and water jib stop stuff. It didn't work the best, but I'm still really happy with the texture that came out, and although I would choose a different plaster next time when it's available for me to get, this is a perfectly fine alternative for doing this. Just didn't quite clog up the gaps in between the pieces of foam that I stuck in. Never be afraid to get your fingers dirty. Just make sure you just spread it all out fairly evenly and then just leave it to dry. It usually takes about a day, so it's a good time to have a break. You can see that there's a whole bunch of bumps and textures on it, which came out really cool. Once it had dried, I just grabbed some tinfoil and I started rubbing or rolling it all over the top of the cliff. This is to show you that you can just use a ball of tinfoil. I ended up getting bored and grabbed my rolling pin that I stuck a styring sheet of texture onto, which does a really good job too. It just makes everything so much easier. Then got some Mod Podge and mixed it with some black paint and went over the whole thing to prime it. Now remember, it's really cool to use this technique so that you don't get any, once you've got the final product, you don't get any dings or scrapes or scratches. It makes the foam a lot more durable. Now, in order to save mess, I did grab a skewer and I poked it into the base, making sure that it didn't go right through, but it also meant that I had another grip on it to hold it as I was painting it, so I wasn't going to get a whole lot of paint on the thing. And there we go, leave it to dry. And it dried! Then I grabbed two types of brown and a grey, and this is just acrylic craft paint. Started with the dark, so there's a tip. When you're painting these kinds of things, it's always good to start with dark and move lighter. I covered the whole thing in the dark brown, or burnt umber. Then I proceeded, after I'd finished to do that, to put the lighter one in, and you'll see how it comes up. I did forget to hit the record button after I added the lighter brown, but I'm sure you don't need to see me painting it. But that's the final product with it, with the dark brown and the light brown looking quite cool. Then, of course, it's about working out your moderation when it comes to the grey. We're not going to put it over the whole thing, we're just going to put little bits and pieces and making it look like there's, at certain points, there's a bit more worn stone, or seeing that these are islands in the middle of water, it's like the water's sort of broken away, maybe storms have taken away a little bit of the dirt to reveal some of the stone. As you can probably see when you clicked on the video, this video is particularly long. Be good to know if you prefer these types of videos or you prefer the shorter ones. Obviously I've released a couple of 30-second, 1-minute ones as well. They're more of just a fun sort of greeting, that you know that everything's still happening. So I'm not really talking about those ones, but I usually try and make them between 8 and 15 minutes. If you prefer the longer ones, it'd be cool to hear about that in the comments. Alright, and it's flocking time! As those who have watched a few of my videos will know, this is my favourite part. So I grabbed all of my flocking, getting ready to go for gold. I cover PVA over the small islands. Now the really cool thing about the small islands is you can actually just mash them together and spread PVA over both of them. And we all love PVA. And it also gives you an uneven spread, which is usually better because it means that the grass, when it sticks to it, it's not going to look like you purposefully did that. It's going to look like it's grown naturally. It's going to give you that more rounded nature look. Now, of course, there's no real science to this. If you have any old empty salt and pepper shakers or anything like that, they can be quite handy for flocking. If you trust your portions when you're pulling it straight out of the packet, that's cool too. It's all about practice, and you just get the hang of it. Of course, using my finger to spread it all around the top part, and doing the same thing there. After which, I did add some floral, some colour, and a little bit of brown sand and things to sort of bring out some of the extra colour. All of this stuff I've purchased through Mighty Ape. It's all woodland scenic stuff. You can get it all from your local hobby shop, all that kind of stuff. It's all very much available. And it really is starting to come together. Alright, so whilst that was drying, I thought, well, I need to make this, or get a start on this, Namekian house. So I'm pretty sure it's Namekian. I'm taking a guess. I think it is. Correct me if I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments, those Dragon Ball Z fans. So screwed this piece of paper into a ball, and then grabbed some water, mixed it with PVA, and basically made a toilet paper slurry wrapping around the paper. Now this is where I was improvising, because in my mind, if you've ever seen a house that the Nameks lived in with DBZ, it's quite circular. So I was actually going to originally get a tennis ball, chop it in half, peel the fluff off it, then get 2 ping pong balls, cut those in half, put each half on the side of the tennis ball and one up the top. And that was how, in my mind, I was going to do it before we went into lockdown. But this is my alternate, as I was improvising, creating a toilet paper mache type structure, and to be honest, it turned out kind of good. I'm pretty proud of it. So as I left that to dry, I rolled up a couple of leftover bits of paper to make the little spiky horns that go on the top of the building, and then wrapped them with masking tape so that they would stay, and then I was just able to paint over them. Easy as. Then, before the big ball of toilet paper dried too much, I molded it into more of a half of like an oval type base shape, and then used a skewer to try and indent the shape so that it would looks like it has 3 different parts. I then had to leave it in the hot water cupboard to dry for about a day and a half. That would have been the longest waiting time for something to dry, but it worked. And it kind of came out resembling if you've ever left tissues in your pocket and chucked it in the dryer and then you pull it out and you've got this big clump of tissue paper. It's very, very similar to the texture that it came out with. But it did hold its shape, and that's the most important part. Okay, so it's dried now, and I get some white acrylic and I just add a little bit of PVA so I can add a little bit of a membrane to it so that it's not going to start peeling off everywhere, and I just paint that up and leave it again to dry. As you can see by the flocking on the islands and stuff, there's a bit of colour there now. I don't know where that extra flocking video went when I put the flowers and things on it, but yet again, there are other videos that I have done that with, and feel free to have a little look at my ramshackle house build, where I also do that to the roof of the house. Then I grabbed my hot glue gun and I made little puddles of hot glue and let it dry. This is going to represent the circular windows of this house. What I'm using here is it's not quite just a piece of paper. It is a palette from a wet palette for painting. It's the paper's a little bit of a greasier paper, which in my mind was going to stop them from sticking as much, and it kind of worked. Now I did try paint these windows, and then I changed my mind halfway through. So there will be a point coming up where you'll see these things painted blue. I then scratched all the paint off because I thought, no, that's going to look rubbish. Anyone remember that rock? 10 points. Alright, so some woodland scenic trees. Now, in this for this setting, the trees tend to not have any branches down the bottom. They're all clumped up the top. So in order to achieve that, I cut all the branches off, leaving just the top ones. Bent all the branches into an interesting shape, and then grabbed some Woodland Scenics flock, which I proceeded to cut into, I basically cubed it and then chucked it on the top and spread it out, adding some PVA to the bases of it, let them dry, and they've turned out really, really cool. It's basically what I could imagine a realistic version of those cartoon, or I shouldn't say cartoon, but animated trees would look like in real life, which is kind of cool. Placed them all in and glued them down to make sure they're not going to go anywhere. And afterwards, it's something that I do quite enjoy doing, sort of to hide any bases or anything like that, is I kind of grabbed a bit more flocking, like bushes or bushels, and some foam rocks and stuff, and scattered them around the base of the tree so that they would look like they're growing out of the base of the tree. There's no perfect way of doing it. It's just I eyeball it up. If it looks good, it looks good. If you think it looks good, that's the most important thing. If you think it looks bad, well, move it around, change it up a bit, add a little bit more color. Maybe you're not using the right flocking that's going to work for you. It really is. There's no exact science. And then I just added a couple of extra rocks just scattered around the islands, add a little bit of level, and just had a bit of fun with it. There's a reason that flocking is my favorite part. I had some extra pre-made static grass lying around too. I bought these two trays from clearance online, and they've served me well. I didn't realize that there were going to be so many of them in the packet. I think I paid $6 for each packet, which was awesome. No regrets there, and it really helps to add a little bit of extra color to any of the nature builds that you work on. And there we go, starting to look real cool. There's those blue windows. And then I got the dry building there, and I stuck some spikes onto the top because that's what the architecture screams for. And I grabbed those hot glue bits and I PVA'd them to the sides, and then left them to dry again. Honestly, the majority of this house build was waiting for it to dry. And I'm not a very patient person, as you might remember from some of my videos. It took everything that I had to make sure I didn't work on it when it was all completely wet still. Needed a door, so I sketched in a door, and then I grabbed my extractor blade and cut through it and made a big line. I then went over it again in pencil and realized that's all I think it needs. Now, not only did I do that, but I then went over the lines that I had originally chiseled into the sides with pencil as well, to give it that animated thick line vibe. I then proceeded to put a little bit of hot glue into onto the door as an additional window, and voila, we are done. Such a cool build, kept me on my toes, especially in lockdown, running out of supplies, making do with what I had. Really enjoyed it. I hope you like it. Hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it gave you some ideas of what you can do at home. And thank you very much for watching. If you're still watching right until the end, please don't forget to subscribe. Hit that like button below, leave a comment, and I have a Facebook, and that link is in the comments as well. Remember, I built this because someone wanted me to, and they made the suggestion on Facebook. So if you want to make a suggestion, of course, you can leave it in the comments, or you can join the Bogan Plays Cards family and post it on the Facebook. I'm always posting new things there as well, giving you hints of when the next videos are. Thank you very much, and have a great day.
That Bogan Plays Cards!